Welcome to Season 4 of Design Together, a podcast about how designers work together. This season, we'll be focusing on folks who are just in the first few years of their careers. We'll call it Starting Out. My name is Abby Guido, and I am your host. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. As you know, this season we're focusing on folks just starting out, and today we have with us Anmol Dhamrait. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for being here. And your current role, you are a junior business manager at McCann for the global Coca-Cola brand. That's awesome. So welcome so much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting. I am looking forward to this. This is my first podcast. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope I can give value to whoever is listening right now.
I'm sure you will. So why don't you take us back? We want to hear a little bit about when you came to the time of higher education. What were you thinking about doing, and where did you end up landing?
Yeah, sure. I'll start actually just in terms of design journey, how I got into it, and then how I ended up doing masters, just like a brief moment. So I started out in downtown Brooklyn. There's a college called City Tech, also known as New York City College of Technology. I did my B.Tech there, and now actually they offer a Bachelor's of Fine Arts, which is great.
So they didn't offer it while you were there?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't available. I think we made sure that it was like we got approved that it should be a Bachelor's of Fine Arts. So that was great. I'm so glad like the department did that. And I did my degree in graphic design specifically. There were different modules, but I started out. I remember going into that college as in like a liberal arts major, and I had no idea. I wasn't good at math. I wasn't good in a lot of things. I just wasn't like a studious student in terms of like really studying. Giving. I wasn't a great test taker. I think I should put it that way. And I always thought like what's made for me. Like these questions would pop up in my head, and I saw one of the department names was communication design, and I was intrigued by it. But there's also like a little side story to it. It was actually my grandfather that had come from India, and I was really into sketching. Like sketching was like my pastime, and I would just hang it up on my wall in the room. And he said, "This is really good," and that was like the first time I actually got confident. Like, oh, like. Am I good? Like,
do you remember how old you were at that point?
I was probably 17. I don't even remember. 17, 18, those are the years when you actually go to your first year of college, right? And I was definitely in my first year of college at that time. And I was taking regular classes and just trying to figure out what I really want to do. I did think of architecture also, but I stayed away because it was a lot of math. Math was not my favorite subject. And he said it's good, and I gave it a little thought. And funnily, like the department was within the college, which is like how things work around you, and it was amazing. I went into as a newcomer. When I landed, I did like my first semester within the thing. I sort of understood. Okay, this is like very creative. You learn the basics of graphic design, you learn communication design, you learn about campaigns, you learn about ads. It was a very new world. Nobody in my family, knew that this sort of career existed. And I was definitely intrigued by it, and it was definitely new as well. I had to learn each step of my way to get there, because I would see other students who would have gone to like art college.
Sure.
You're like competing with like already like pros. So I think I definitely worked really hard my way up there and to really make a mark. So the only thing that actually used to interest me was design. I was really like into sketching, graphic design, learning about the rules. It used to also calm me down too. I thought it was like a really mindful activity. while working like two shifts, right? Like you're working, you're like having classes and then you're working as well.
Were you working full time while you were in school?
I wasn't working full time. I think I made that decision that I want to focus. I started working, I think you can say my junior year.
Okay.
2 semesters before I would graduate, or 3 semesters, I started started to take internship. And it's one of the classes you have to take within this module.
So your program had required internships. Is it just one internship? How did that work?
Yeah, my program had one of the classes. It would be the last 2 semesters. You can take the internship class, and you would need to have internship. Like you would need to have that job in order to take that class, or you take that. Basically, you take that class, but during the internship class, you would need to get hired. The professor would help you land at jobs by giving you links of like the job posting, and really like kind of like help you cover those hours. So that was one of the things where it actually makes you want to take up a job rather than you're just looking around, but it sort of makes you do action, like you're action oriented at that point.
So that first internship, what was it? Was it something you enjoyed?
Yeah, I actually love talking about my first internship because it was actually for a program, CUNY Service Corps. I feel like I did 2 jobs at the same time, but like this was my first, you can say. And within that program, you would have interviews and you would get placed. So, and you would pick your topic, like where would you want to work? And I picked design and I picked marketing, like around those areas. So we had our interview, and the great part was about it was where my college was. It was literally 15 minutes away, the building, and it was under CUNY, where I had gotten my first intern, like design intern. At a childcare provider services. It was a department that was working for childcare providers who would help children that are in need, basically. And for that, I used to create flyers.
Okay.
Because I was doing graphic design, it kind of matched up, and I would do weekly, or monthly different flyers, so the childcare providers or people just generally know about that this thing exists, and then you can actually get paid or just create more awareness about the program, I think. And yeah, that was my first experience. It was definitely easier because it was like I would have classes that I would work, and then I would go to my classes because it was within the 15-minute range. So it worked out pretty well, my first job.
And did that experience, did it influence your design work? Did it make you think, yes, this is what I want to do? Or did it give you ideas of like, well, I tried that, maybe that's not what I thought this was going to be?
Yeah, definitely. I think as a first internship, right? I think more than being a design internship, I think you just learn how to be a professional first.
Sure.
How to really have a connection with your supervisor or teammates, how you actually communicate if there's something. I think that's what I learned, how to manage time. Time management was big at that time because I was doing classes and I had the internship. So I think for me, that was the most important thing that I had learned at that point. And after that, yeah, maybe this is something. And it was a 1-year program, so it had to end. And then I liked doing design work. So I wanted to take another one. So that's how I went to the second one, where it was actually within the city college. In the department where I was working for faculty, basically.
Okay, so did you continue doing that until you graduated?
I actually did. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did do that. And it was actually really great because it really polishes you as a professional, and it grew. And because I was getting promoted, I also took up another job as well within the department, which was like a new student center, basically advising. So I did that for a couple of for a large amount of time, and then I got promoted to this second department, which I had applied for, which was Faculty Commons of Design team. It was within the Faculty Commons, and I learned a lot from there because I went from being a designer and then being assistant to the supervisor or the director, you may call it. But yeah, that was sort of my journey, really sticking to design work, but then also spreading my wings, like learning about management. How does faculty work? How does different, like basically really questioning, like, what more can I do? It's really at the end of the day, I think that's what I did. Like, what more can I learn from this job?
When you're saying that, what it makes me think of is that occasionally I take on interns, and just because of the nature of my work and being a faculty member and also having my own studio, sometimes they see some of that, the other side of the faculty work. So they kind of, you have a perception that someone comes into the classroom, teaches, and leaves, and that's it. And so I think it probably was a really great experience for you to see that jobs are not always that one kind of shiny thing you get to see to the public. You kind of got to see what's happening behind closed doors, and that, I'm sure, opened you up to kind of think about jobs in general and what's out there.
You really have to stay open-minded. I think that's what I would say to the newcomers. When, like, a lot of the times I get DMs also, like, people asking me, like, what did you do to get here? What did I do to get this position? People often tend to forget, like, people should ask me, how did I do it? What was my perspective? I think we're lacking sort of a perspective, which is open-minded, really staying, because it's not always you're having that you're gonna get your first job and you're gonna, like, shine through. Like, it doesn't happen. I think it's just a false reality
Sure.
that's showcased around the world. But it really doesn't. You really have to know yourself, and you really have to question, because it's such a large medium. You can go from creative to, if you want to go to management, there's so much to do within this industry that sometimes it can be hard to really pick your niche. And I think trying different jobs really helps you.
So let's talk about that journey a little bit. So you come to graduation. What type of support did you have with looking for the next step for your first full-time job?
So I think when I was already working, and I definitely struggled getting my first full-time job. And I was still working at the Faculty Commons, and then the pandemic hit, and it was 2020. And I wasn't hitting the mark, and I thought, like, I needed to skill up. I felt I was a bit too niche. Like, I knew design and graphic design, and I was interested in a little bit of project management and just learning about the industry in general. And I would take up, like, boot camps. I would do a lot of those networking within those time. But then I really decided to go for my master's at the City College of New York. The program is called Branding Integrated Communications. That really showcased a lot of growth in my career, and that's how I landed my my first full time, actually. During those years, but it wasn't like right after my graduation I got my full time. It definitely took a lot of questioning, a lot of work, a lot of networking, a lot of rejections.
Of course. So that master's program, was that a full-time program? Was that something you did part-time while you were working?
It was definitely full time at first when I started, because I was still working at the Faculty Commons, and Faculty Commons was more like part time, you can say. The classes would be at night. I started off as a full time, but then eventually I did did move into a part time as well when I was getting my full-time jobs. It was definitely hard having a full-time job and then going into classes late at night. It's not the best workload, but it's what you when you choose a path, you have to stick by it, right? And I think that's what I did. Even though the harshest days, the harshest workload, you have to somehow work through it and then see the new day as a new day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I often reflect back on different periods of life and think, like, how did I make it through? But when you're in it, it's just what you know.
I feel like we get into the bigger picture a lot. Like, how will I do it? It's just a matter of just do it. Just do it at this point.
So what was that first full-time job?
My full time job was at the agency, Patience and Purpose. I was a brand coordinator, and yeah, that was it was a really great experience. But then it was taking a toll on my health, and I decided to stick by my master's at that time. Because I was definitely, I knew that there would be more scope if I stayed with my master's, because I was learning every day. There was something new I was learning from that program. So I just decided to stick by it, and then whenever I felt like I could take a, because I was doing freelance then, and then I decided to take another full time, which kind of worked for me, which kind of gave me a different perspective, which I worked at the architecture firm.
So architecture made its way back into your life.
Yeah, it did. It was so weird how I just was hitting applies to the jobs, and this one just popped up on my corner, and I was like, should I go for this or should I not go for this? But I did at that point, and I think that was the best decision that I did, because I really liked what I did there, and then I was able to manage my workload. I was a marketing coordinator at the Bear Blender Bell.
Okay, so you still were in school while you had that job as well.
Yeah, I was actually at my last semester.
Okay, all right. So you're coming to your graduation from your master's program. Was the plan to stay with the same job, or did you know that you wanted to continue to look for something else?
I wanted to stay, but because I was doing a lot of the work, which was admin, and I wanted to get some sort of value out of it. And I was definitely looking up, but I wouldn't have mind staying there too, because I was definitely liking the teammates, and I liked what I did there. But the McCann role, it actually just came to me, and I was really fortunate for that, because I think people just know that if you're good, they will reach out to you, I guess.
So tell me about that. When you say it just came to you, did a recruiter find you?
Yeah,
How
a
did
recruiter
that
actually
come to you?
found me through LinkedIn. Funnily, I was in England at that time on vacation, but I had my laptop because I was doing my master's homework. And I was intrigued by this position, so that's why I took it.
So they reach out to you. They tell you they have this job. I want to talk about that a little bit, because I don't know if I've covered that at all yet this season, are recruiters. So was it a recruiter directly from McCann, or was it an outside agency
It was
hiring
directly
for
from McCann, definitely.
Okay.
And it's weird because I have done a lot of networking, and it was not one of them. So I felt like, oh, who is this person? But it was really good. I think they were just looking for someone with. I feel like when you go on my LinkedIn, it's very unique profile. I've been to different departments, and I think this position needed it. So I think that's why. And I also questioned. I was like, how come this recruiter actually reached out to me? And I was surprised. And I was in England, and I came back, and I did the interview, and I started my full time after I graduated. Literally, I had the weekend I celebrated, and Monday I was on the job. So,
well, from what I'm hearing from you, that doesn't sound that surprising, actually.
I think what I would suggest to newcomers is really focus on your skills, because I used to I have focused on my skills too, but at the same time I was worried about my career, like if I will ever get the job that I want, or like I would have all these questions, and sometimes that actually distracts you from your path, other than like using that time to actually like do the work. So I think that's a suggestion I would pass on. Like, just try to skill up as much as you can, and really question, like, are you okay with this job? Are you okay eliminating this part of the skill that you probably not need? Like, for instance, design. Like,
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit because, I've just in my experience over the years, I'll say just project management. Like some of my favorite project managers were folks that came from design. Same with account folks, because they have a hands-on experience. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Like, does it feel like you gave something up for this, or does it feel like this was just all part of the journey and it all fits together
I feel like I gained from it. I At first you feel it. You feel like you're leaving design because it's your baby, and you like started with that. But I think I gained. Um, I think I became a better designer, I would say, because for my final project in masters, I did it for the because you have to do portfolio for it, right? And I was doing project management was my focus, and I used my design skills to figure out a visual timeline for the teammates you would do. Like that was my main piece in my portfolio. So for me, it was definitely a plus point. I feel like we it was definitely hard to crack because I feel like get attached to that emotion. Oh my god, I'm leaving design now. I'm going to be a project manager. But I think you can combine. You can combine, and that goes for anything else as well. But I think for me, it was a plus point.
Well, and I think also you understand what goes into the process. So I'm sure that makes you a much more empathetic project manager, knowing what it can take to actually make something. So how long have you been at McCann now?
I am going to complete my 1 year.
So talk to us a little bit about kind of what you do. You don't have to go into details on the particular brand, but what type of work are you doing at McCann?
I work for the rights management. Basically, I'm under the business affairs department.
And do you get to work with a lot of other folks there? Is it a collaborative environment?
Yeah, I work with. I have a team, and we work as a collaborative effort to succeed in this brand, basically.
And do you feel like this is like you found your home? Like this is what I was kind of meant to do after this, kind of interesting journey?
Yeah, but I think I'm always. I feel like I'm a ambitious or determined. All those words. I feel like I like learning about this industry. So I'm always open to learning more about it. But I definitely feel good where I am right now. But I always, if I'm like, I'm still looking up creative mornings. Like I used to do that as a designer. Like I'll go up to the events and then, go there. But I still go back. But it's also nice to just take a break from the creative side and go into business affairs. And really learn about that department as well. It's different. I think it really depends on your personality if you're open. It's not an easy journey. It takes a toll because you're adapting to new environments every time. But I like it. I don't like easy things, I guess.
Do you ever see yourself going back to the other side?
Not completely, but I think it would be like a connection. It would be definitely an add-on I would do. Like whenever I'm thinking about something, right? For instance, if I'm thinking about like a project, design is gonna come through. Like it's part of me.
Yeah, do you have to like fight yourself to not throw ideas out when you're talking to the creative teams?
Yes, that's me. And just like business ideas too, or like creative ideas too. Like I am critiquing the brand on a subway. Like it's not a easy thing to do, but it's just I have become who I have become at this stage, and I don't hate it or I don't love it. It's just who I am, and I'm proud of it because it's been hard and it's been the most successful journey up until now, and hopefully moreover.
I mean, it kind of reflects like a lot of larger, Fortune 500 companies when they have folks who come in, they make them work in all the different departments to kind of learn how things work. So you're kind of doing that on your own so that one day maybe you can run your own agency.
Oh my God, that is I get a thought, but then I'm like, no.
Oh, live that dream. Have those thoughts.
Because I feel like I'm not aware, like same like what I was saying earlier, right? I feel like I'm still learning. I don't know how to open an agency. Like I don't know what. Obviously, one has to go into it and try it, but the knowledge, like first you have to get really like know about like what actually goes on, and then if you really have an idea or you have clients, you can then think about it. And I feel like you need good creative heads to really open a good agency.
Well, I feel like from getting to know you that maybe that will be in your future. Maybe some more school too. Who knows? Never stop learning though. It's yeah. So what advice do you give to folks finishing a BFA program, especially I would say folks that are finishing in design but have a little bit of a feeling like maybe there is something that's design adjacent that is for me? What kind of advice do you give them?
Yeah, I feel like in today's world, design is such an open medium. You could do so many things with it. You can literally open up businesses within the design, but it cannot, like before it used to be like, yeah, you can open just a printmaking shop or like just design oriented. Now you have to think of many mediums. Like if you want to do social media, you want to be an influencer, design comes in it, right? Like if you want to open up your website, if you want to do web design, design is all part of it. And all those rules, all those color theories, they all have to come through in any medium we choose. So I think hold design as your backbone and then spread out your wings to different departments if you're really thinking that is design for me or maybe something else. There's so many options today to really create a career for yourself. Be an entrepreneur, open up an agency. Yep, do it.
I think that is like a lot of folks, still think like, oh, I'm going to be a designer. I'm going to be designing logos. Like that will be my job. But there's hundreds of jobs out there within the field, and I think your path is a really unique example of how you can apply what you've learned and find something that's good fit for you.
That's a good aspiration to have. Like I would just want to design for logos, but yes, it is something very niche. And I feel like when I used to apply for graphic design roles, it changed drastically. Like it used to be like, yes, create a flyer. It would be like banners. It would be like logos would be on it. Like all of those things, all of those print making things. And social media wasn't a part of it back in the day. I feel old saying that. But, it drastically changed when I used to apply when I graduated, like within span of 1 year.
I know. So think about what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
They started adding HTML, CSS to the job postings, and I was just like, I don't know how to do that. I learned it, but it's not something I want to do with design because it's a lot.
Well, that's where the skilling up comes in.
Yeah, that's where you figure out, oh, can you do design with web? Can you do, like, you have to pick design with something else. Like it's not a lone journey anymore.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anmol, for being here today. I really enjoyed getting to know you and hearing a little bit about your path.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. I hope everyone got something out of this. But yeah, this was great experience. And thank you. Thank you so much for this time.
Of course. Is there anywhere folks are interested in reaching out where they can find you? Is LinkedIn the best place?
LinkedIn would be the best place.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you all so much for listening. We'd love to hear your feedback. Feel free to send us a message or leave us a review. To learn more about the show, check out our website at designtogetherpod.com. Special thanks to Rob Weston at Great Magnet Recording Concerns for providing our post-production.